company is to serve all stakeholders, and applying this sort of egalitarian presumption to that, do you think they understand what I just said about the varying levels of profit creation? And do they know that, yes, while profits may end up being there to distribute to the risk taker, who we demonize and refer to as a shareholder, another concept totally foreign to people until just 5 minutes ago, that a shareholder is a negative thing. It's a risk taker who's put capital into a project for the purpose of seeing a return of capital on that. And along the way, the notion that the Business Roundtable would suggest that Milton Friedman would have been oblivious to the idea that we enhance our self-interest by having workers who actually like working for us, that we enhance the aim of the entity by actually paying our vendors on time, that we benefit our organization by having favorable working dynamics with our suppliers. All of these things, from vendors to workers to suppliers to investors to creditors to bankers, all people involved in the formation and operation of an entity, that obviously the company wants to do right by them towards the legal fiduciary duty of an increase to those risk takers who have invested in the organization, who are the private property lawful owners of it. This is not complicated. The idea, though, was not that they really wanted to protect vendor, suppliers, workers. It was to open up the door to no limiting principle, that you are to serve the environment, Mother Nature, the community, without any concept of what those things may be. Now, of course, I think we all have a framework, an ethical framework, for how serving the community can be very beneficial within the business, that there is a subsidiarity. Today, I fear too many on the so-called new right, and certainly those on the ESG, DEI left, they have no intention of bringing back these concepts to our formational understanding of subsidiarity. They're talking about anti-subsidiarity, Washington, D.C. The notion that we would centralize our efforts for the common good in the most non-common, non-good city on God's green earth is bizarre to me. But let me move forward. I have absolutely no idea how much time I have or when I'm supposed to stop, so I'm just going to finish up the talk and hope I've kept everyone on schedule. Labor is profit. You work for pay. We're not debating profits, but whose. I believe that Adam Smith was wrong in his labor theory of value. I do not believe that value is merely the cost of goods with the value of the labor imputed to it. I think Karl Marx was triply wrong in his perverse understanding of labor theory of value. But ultimately, the improved understanding of a subjective theory of value, whereby we all, as rational, free, reasonable, and creatures who were made in the image of God, transact with one another, that those subjective taste preferences that reflect our individuality, that those set prices, thereby set those values at which we can clear in the market. And within that, you have no chance of getting price discovery without profits. And you have no chance of getting profits without price discovery. Profits then come out of an economic calculation that require prices, that require a market economy, and out of profits come losses. And sometimes some of the most glorious things in the human experience can be losses. The lessons we learn, the character that is developed, the need to do better the next time, and the improvements that come about out of a moment of loss into a moment of gain, and what that does, not only for our own spirit, what it does in the subjective sense for the worker, the subjective sense for the entrepreneur, but what it does for the society at large, yes, for the common good. Out of that notion, we accept the one and the many all at once, the individual and the collective. I'm sorry, but my friends on the right who are divorced from a Christian anthropology can never fully appreciate, those of us appreciate this the way those of us who believe in a triune God can. That God made us as individuals, and our meaning as people is not rooted to our belonging in a particular nation, a particular community, that we are individually meaningful as Imago Dei. That dignity we have is to our own humanity and personhood. And at the same time, we are made social. We are made as people in families. We are made as people with communal responsibilities. These incarnational truths to me are beautiful, but they are very much relevant to the way we think about market activity. When I think about profits, I believe that we dehumanize people to limit the consideration to something of someone saying, I have 10 and now I want 20. I want to accumulate for the purpose of my own greed and self-satisfaction, and ignore the humanity that has to be at play. For a human to advance from 10 to 20, they must make a good or service that meets a need or want in humanity. And along the way, provide profits to others by paying laborers, and sometimes have to compete for labor. And you say, you know what, though? They could just pay them really poorly and unfairly, give them bad working conditions. Well, then I guess you're going to need more of Bahnsen's idea of market economy. Because the more market economy, the more competition, which forces me to treat my workers better. And it puts downward pressure on prices, upward pressure on how we want to deal with these so-called stakeholders that the Business Roundtable acted as if just became market actors 5 minutes ago. Pitting profits against the common good can only be done if you wrongly define one or both terms, and ultimately determining that profits and common good need to be separated forces you to accept a Pharisaical understanding of profits, to pretend that profits are good up to the lifestyle that you've chosen to live, and not good above and beyond that. It is Marxian. We would critique it in our body politic. But why would we think that way in our own minds and hearts? It is Pharisaical. It is pietistic. Profits advance the common good when we adopt the synthesis of a free and virtuous society. Thank you very much.
Gee, David, once again, another tour de force. I've never seen really anybody put together metaphysics, anthropology, and epistemology of profit so beautifully. I hope you write a tractate on this because we need it desperately. I mean, you have such a vast wealth of knowledge stemming from truly the biblical theology to metaphysics and philosophy to economics, and it just, you pulled it together so beautifully. I took away just 3 very simple points. Number 1, he who does not, or she who does not, define their terms is truly destined to be manipulated out of existence, and that surely has happened in today's economic world. The second thing that I took from it is, if we forget that human beings made in the image of God are free, they're transcendent, they're creative, and they are moral. If we forget that and reduce human beings just to greed or hedonistic agents, then of course everything will be destroyed, not just in economics, but truly in hope for the world, human creativity and destiny. It's all over. We do need to carry this back. We need to get the religious message of the morality, transcendence, creativity, and freedom in the image and likeness of God into the free world. And number 3, false dichotomies are really bad news, and they're generated by people with manipulative intent. And the false dichotomy between the common good and profitability is surely one that is undermining not only capitalism, but producing the woke world. You were brilliant, and I'm so grateful for your talk today. Thank you so very, very much. And now a brief word from our sponsor, another major sponsor today, He Gets Us.